So, ladies and gentlemen, we come to the Napoleonic Wars. The Napoleonic Wars, most famously known for the Battle of Waterloo, but naturally there was a lot of battles through the wars. On the non-BSN type of the arena, we have our line of redcoats, British redcoats. This is a composite unit. It is made up of the 68th Durham Light Infantry, the Coldstream Guards, the 33rd Foot, at this point I probably should tell you that there's going to be loud bangs in this arena. I cannot describe, best left undescribed I believe, but a competition is just the same. The guns they are firing are small 3-pounder and 2-pounder artillery pieces. The French artillery piece is supporting the 21st Foot, and it looks like we have a bit of an overrun of a skirmish that the thin red line is looking to resolve. You'll hear the drums banging from the red line. Those drums give all of the soldiers the signal that the officer has given them. So they're not just pretty drums, they are vitally important for transmitting communication. As you can see, these units produce an enormous amount of smoke for the amount of firepower they have. When you're in battles like the Battle of Waterloo, the battle is completely marked over with fog of war, as a lot of people like to call it. Fundamentally, these muskets from down the British side are of similar design and certainly the same technology. So all of the muskets are called flintlock muskets. It's a basic barrel with a hole at the end. You put some gunpowder down the barrel, you put your projectile down the barrel, which is a round lead ball of 12 gauge, for anyone who knows. And then you prime a small pan of powder right next to your cheek as you're firing with some more gunpowder. All of this is then ignited using a flint that hits the frizzen and causes a spark and ignites the powder. This is very smoky, very hot work for anyone using these muskets. Lots of sparks, lots of flashes, as you can see. The reason why all the units are clumped together in these very tight lines is because aiming is the thing with these muskets, certainly within the line infantry units. The idea was that it was better to send a wall of lead down range and have a better effect of that lead hitting your target. The French, as you can see, they've adopted a different position. They've not given the British line an a closed formation for them to target. They've opened their formation up, hoping that that lead wall coming towards them would take up less people. Here's the bugle now, giving more calls. Again, vitally important in these battles because the word of mouth, the voice of the officer, is heard over the sound of relatively quiet cannons today. So, moving over to the cannons, our horse artillery unit, as I'm dressed in, as the battery commander of the unit, we're wearing quite flamboyant uniform. It was a very elite regiment. It was here as an artillery regiment to support the cavalry. So we all rode horses in the horse artillery. Our guns were pulled by horses and we could keep up arguably with the cavalry to support them with artillery fire. That's why we coverall trousers, which are riding trousers. Our uniforms represent the cavalry uniforms, but we are wearing the red, blue and gold / yellow of the Royal Regiment. As you can see, the red line has adopted the tactic of opening up their lines to skirmish lines. skirmish lines are two individuals working as a team. One individual would remain loaded, and the other individual would open fire. Once the person who's open fired is loaded, they become the reserve, and the person going forward would then fire their musket. That way, they've always got the opportunity to send firepower downrange in any advance or retreat that they require. So, red line now, firing and advancing. This is to make ground and give way to the main body of manpower that the red line has. So you can see ourselves. Redcoats taking casualties. Some of the support staff, you've got the pioneer with his axe and a spare drummer boy taking the casualty away. Tell them to cover themselves and get them back in the line. With the lead balls flying down range to around about 75 yards. When they hit a target, they hit them hard. The ball hits the target, it has a tendency to expand as it hits a solid target, and then the flesh wound and any bone wounds that would have would be quite devastating. In the Bodrhyddan Hall, we didn't have the same support and field medicine as we do nowadays. There was such thing as surgeons, there was such thing as field medicine. However, the wounds were very devastating, and amputation and shock was big killers during these battles.
Make ready! Fire! Make safe!
So talking about equipment, you'll see our Redcoat Regiment are all wearing their trotter packs, their backpacks. This was their lifeline. This was their camping equipment, their mess tins, their sleeping bedroom. On the left-hand side, they have a blue water canteen. Vitally important for the marches. These men would march miles as required. A force march could be up to around 30 miles a day. Hopefully that's self-explanatory. And looking again on the left side of the infantry, you will find a long triangular bayonet that fits on the end of the musket. So it looks like the Redcoats are splitting themselves up. Don't tell the French, but I think this looks like a flanking manoeuvre. They take out their artillery.
Make ready!
And the skirmish line returning.
Oh dear, we misfired. Misfire. Don't cross. Just give it time. What's wrong with this stupid piece of...
Made in China, that's a double.
Back in the box, we're gonna die.
So on the French side of the battle with the French people, you notice that they're wearing white to thinning grey trousers. These would be over trousers.
They would have been shredded by
In full equipment, they would have doeskin breeches underneath them, because breeches were quite common in our period. have a long tailcoat which was in fashion when the Napoleonic Wars started, but was slowly but surely coming out of fashion, and out of the Napoleonic Wars everyone was adopting the sheep tails as the redcoats already have. Both units are wearing incredibly tall hats considering the importance of the hat. Both of these hats have the same purpose, is to keep the lice on their head. Another purpose, however, is to make the opposition look taller, which is a very good tactic until the opposition do the same thing. And you'll notice in many of the Napoleonic Wars, the bearskins and the busbies become taller and taller until it becomes a little bit ridiculous and cumbersome to operate. In comparison, the horse unit being a very fresh, new unit, newly designed, just at the start of the Napoleonic Wars, there's an alternative headwear called the Tarleton helmet. This was a riding helmet with bearskin comb on top, or goat in this instance, I believe, and a very fetching plume. Again, going back to the fact that the horse artillery was an elite unit that really did like to see that. The general advance now by the redcoats on both sides. Obviously the artillery has closed fire because they're now in taking out their own troops. French guns still opening fire, however, not making much headway. I think they need to check their elevation, the way they use it and loading that. We're starting to take casualties now. The skirmish is coming on. Our reenactors are pretty tired. Certainly the French gun has lost one of his critical activities, which is the rammer and the worm. The units are now operating at a slower strength. If they're not capable, they may not be able to operate at all. Well, the redcoats take what I believe is an inevitable final hurrah to take out that artillery unit and possibly the French unit. I'll just explain how a cannon is loaded. So a cannon sits on its carriage, quite inert, until you put some gunpowder in it. To do that, you need to make sure that the barrel is clear. So we send a worm down the barrel. Like our lovely horse artilleryman is showing us now. That proves to us that the cannon barrel is clear. Those who shoot the cannon barrel has fired a shot, so we then send a mop down. This mop is a sheeting coming to dampen down to try and quench any embers. Because if there's any embers left in the barrel next cartridge will ignite and will send off the cartridge beforehand, and usually the gunner's tool and probably the gunner as well. Cannon's now safe to load and fire, and the cartridge can go in. They're not going to do it now because they're going to take out their own red troops. So once the cartridge is round and thrown all the way to the breech end, and the cannon is ready to be primed with a quill, and then is ready to fire. The cannon, if it had a full load, would have flown back about 5-6 foot, and the gunners would have to bring it forward. And while I've been doing that, I've been totally distracted by my own artillery unit, that I've omitted to notice that the French have completely and utterly been routed out and have been removed from the equation. So at this point, looking at the very sorry souls that are on the ground, I'd probably like to ask them to rise again and form up, and possibly a round of applause from everyone. Oh, thank you very much.